want you to imagine that you're 14 years old. It's February, one of those midwinter days that have you dreaming of summer. You remember those days. The sky is almost too blue. The sun is almost too big. One of those days where you would take off your winter coat and stuff it in your backpack or tie it around your waist. Now imagine that you've gotten off your school bus and you see a police car and an ambulance in your driveway. What would be the first thought that goes through your head? My first thought was he finally did it. Dad killed Mom. To understand why this was my first thought, I should tell you a little bit about my father. As a child, he was beaten regularly by his mother and had the scars to show for it. While in his care, his younger sister set herself on fire and died from her injuries. When my grandfather got sick, my father was forced to quit school in grade 4 to help provide for his family. So he never learned to read or write or even sign his own name. He had a failed marriage, a child he never saw, and after breaking his back in a workplace accident, he became addicted to painkillers. Mix all of that with his love for booze, and his demons refused to lie still. Demons that sadly didn't die with him that February afternoon. When I had learned of my father's death, I tried to cry, but couldn't. I remember going into my uncle's bathroom, thinking about hurting myself, so just maybe I could feel something. But I suppose if I'm honest, I felt relief that day. Relief that my mother was still alive, and relief that he couldn't hurt us anymore. When I was 8 years old, my father decided to murder me. My mother was in the kitchen and I was in the living room with Dad when he drunkenly announced, "I'm going to get the shotgun." When he stumbled down the basement steps, my mother ushered me next door where my grandmother lived. There I hid under my aunt's bed. My mom hid in the closet. To this day, when I close my eyes, I can still see him standing in that doorway. I can see the toes of his muddy boots and the long, cold barrel of the shotgun. After my grandmother led him away with the promise of beer, my mom and I fled to Nova Scotia with only the clothes that we had on our backs. In the haste to escape my father, we left my older brother behind in the hospital, where he had checked himself in after a failed suicide. Many years later, I learned that my father visited the hospital when we were in Nova Scotia, and he brought a knife, and he gave it to my brother, and he told him to be a man and finish the job. 6 years later, after my dad tried to take my life, he was dead. He died without teaching me how to shave, to throw a baseball, to hammer a nail, to change the oil in my car. He died without telling me that he was proud of me. He never once watched me on the field or the court or the diamond. I never learned from him how to be a father, how to be in a loving relationship, and maybe, just importantly, how to be a man. A father's job is to empower and protect. Instead, he taught me that I was a burden and a disappointment and a failure. Never once did he tell me that I could be great, or even what greatness was. But I could feel it in here. Not only did I want it, I told myself I deserved it, and so I chased it. I refused to be the boy that he molded. I refused to be something I wasn't. Who you are is up to you. You can't leave it up to them. Only you can decide not to use your greatness. Unfortunately, so many of us are afraid of their greatness that they use their past as an excuse. Trust me, your pain will be your prison cell if you allow it. Regardless of my past and how many times I was abused or saw the people I love get hurt, I took responsibility for my life. By focusing on what was in front of me, I was too busy to worry what was behind me. And even though I failed again and again and again, I understood that those failures were not permanent. So I backed up and I tried again, even when giving up would be so much easier. Because it was my path and I intended to walk it. Failure is the biggest motivation you have because your failure is your fault. And those difficult moments build your character. My father intended me to be dead, but I'm still breathing. And until I take that last breath, I refuse to be a victim. This is my life. If I don't like the hand that I've been dealt, I'll get my own cards. And I promise you, I will continue shuffling for as long as it takes. I will not stop, and I will not settle, because I know greatness is right here. And no one can take that from me, especially him. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Joe Mercer.